Have you ever noticed how you can be insanely busy, yet months pass and you still do not feel stronger, calmer, or more confident? You answered messages, watched clips, stayed productive, and somehow nothing in you got tougher. So let me ask you a sharper question. If you were forced to choose just one hobby to train for 6 months, one thing you repeat so often, it changes your nervous system, what would you pick to become the kind of person who does not get shaken so easily? Stoicism is blunt about where real power comes from. Stop trying to control outcomes. Control what is yours. Your actions, your attitude, your daily choices. Everything else is weather. You can complain about it, or you can dress for it and keep walking. That sounds clean in theory, but it becomes real when life hits you without permission. There is a story that captures this in a single breath. In 2023, researchers pulled together data from 5 long-term studies across 16 countries, following more than 93,000 people aged 65 and older for years. Instead of asking, "Do you feel inspired?" they tracked something more honest, whether people consistently had hobbies and how their mental well-being shifted over time. The pattern was blunt. People who kept hobbies reported better overall health, higher happiness and life satisfaction, and fewer depressive symptoms. And these links showed up across very different cultures. The takeaway is not that hobbies are cute, it is that a repeated, chosen activity becomes a stabilizer. It gives your week structure, gives your brain a predictable place to reset, and gives you a sense of progress you can actually feel. In Stoic terms, it is a daily practice of agency. You pick the action, you do the reps, and your inner state follows. Source: Nature Medicine. Hobby engagement and mental well-being among people aged 65 years and older in 16 countries. That is the doorway into this video. A hobby is not just entertainment. It can be a private training room. You pick something compelling enough to bring you back every day, difficult enough to create healthy discomfort, and measurable enough that you can see progress without lying to yourself. Not 10 hobbies. 1. A single practice that forces you to show up when you do not feel like it, and rewards you with proof, not vibes. Think of it as choosing your arena. When pressure rises, your hobby becomes rehearsal. You learn how to breathe, reset, and act on purpose every time. In a moment, I will give you 10 options that are genuinely worth your time. Not trendy, not shallow, practical, modern, and built to forge steadiness. Hobby 1. Indoor bouldering. Bouldering looks like a sport, but it feels like a negotiation with your own nervous system. Every route is a small puzzle built into the wall. You read the holds, plan the sequence, then step onto it and discover the truth. Your forearms burn, your feet slip, your brain starts shouting fast stories about falling, failing, looking stupid. And right there, between the first move and the last, you get a choice. You can let fear take the steering wheel, or you can slow down and act with precision. That is why it hooks people. It is immediate, physical, and honest. You cannot talk your way up a climb. You either solve it, or you come down and try again. From a Stoic lens, bouldering trains courage and patience in a way most daily life does not. Epictetus would call it practice, not theory. You do not wait until you feel confident. You place your hands, commit your weight, and accept that uncertainty is part of the process. You also learn to separate what you control from what you do not. You control your breathing, your effort, your focus, the quality of each attempt. You do not control whether a hold feels greasy today, whether someone is watching, or whether you send the problem on the first try. When you fall, you are not punished, you are given information. The mature move is to bow to that information, adjust, and step back on the wall. If you are new, the first week is not about being strong, it is about being safe and being calm. Start by learning how to land. Practice dropping from a low height onto the mat with soft knees and a stable stance. Then learn how to watch a route. Before you climb, stand back and trace it with your eyes. Identify your start holds, your finish hold, and 2 possible resting positions. On your first sessions, keep the goal simple. Climb slowly enough that you can feel where your weight is. When your hands begin to pump, do not rush. Exhale longer than you inhale. That one habit turns panic into problem solving. Each session, choose one problem that is just slightly above your current level. Not impossible, just uncomfortable. Give yourself 3 honest attempts. Between attempts, rest and replay the moves in your head like a short film. Ask one clear question. What was the real reason I came off? Foot placement, body position, timing, or attention? Then try again with one adjustment. This is controlled failure, and it is the fastest teacher you will ever meet. Also, keep your ego small. If you need to down climb. If you need to ask for a tip, ask. Humility saves skin and builds skill. Now the 6-month challenge. Treat it like a quiet contract. Month 1, build consistency. 2 sessions per week, no excuses, no drama. Month 2, add a 3rd session or a short mobility routine on off days. Month 3, start tracking grades and attempts, not to flex, but to see patterns. Month 4, pick a style you avoid, slabs, overhangs, or balance problems, and make it your focus. Month 5, improve recovery, sleep, nutrition, and proper rest between tries. Month 6, choose one hard problem and commit to it for the whole month. At the end of each month, record a 10-second clip of your hardest section. When you watch them in order, you will not just see stronger fingers, you will see a steadier mind. You will start trusting your decisions under stress without negotiating. Hobby those. A rhythm instrument, cajon or basic piano. There is something addictive about learning an instrument with a clear pulse. A cajon gives you rhythm in your hands. A piano gives you rhythm in both hands plus structure. Either way, you get instant feedback that you cannot negotiate with. You hit the beat and it sounds right. Or you miss it and the sound exposes you. That is why this hobby works so well for people who feel scattered. In 15 minutes, you can feel improvement because you can literally hear the difference between chaos and control. You cannot fake a steady tempo. You cannot think positive your way into clean timing. The instrument is a mirror, and it does not flatter you. From a Stoic angle, this is training attention and discipline in the most practical way. Marcus Aurelius constantly brought himself back to the same simple instruction: do the next right thing, with care, without drama. That is exactly what rhythm practice forces you to do. You stop chasing big emotional highs, and you start respecting small, correct repetitions. You learn to be present, because if your mind leaves the room for 2 seconds, your timing falls apart. You also learn humility. You might be smart, talented, even ambitious, but none of that matters if you cannot hold a pulse at a slow tempo. And that is the point. This hobby makes you earn results through consistency, not through identity. If you are starting from 0, keep it extremely simple for the first week. Choose one instrument and commit to it. If you pick cajon, you are learning 2 basic sounds first, the bass hit in the center and the slap near the top edge. If you pick piano, you are learning the most basic shape, a 5-finger position in one key with your thumb anchored and your fingers relaxed. Your goal is not to impress anyone. Your goal is to build a stable internal metronome. Here is the method that makes this hobby actually stick. Pick a pattern or a tiny piece that is almost boring. For cajon, it could be a simple 4-beat groove, bass on 1 and 3, slap on 2 and 4. For piano, It could be a two-hand pattern like a simple chord in the left hand and a three-note melody in the right. Then break it into 2-bar chunks, 2 bars only. Do not practice the whole thing from start to finish like most beginners do, because that turns into repeating mistakes. Instead, loop the 2 bars until they feel clean, and practice slower than you think you should. This is where people sabotage themselves. They want to feel the song, so they rush. But the real skill is control, not speed. Start at a tempo where you cannot fail, even if it feels painfully slow. Count out loud. On cajon, count 1, 2, 3, 4, and hit exactly where you said you would. On piano, count and let your fingers move like a machine, smooth and quiet. When you mess up, do not scold yourself. Reset immediately and play it correctly once, very slowly. That is Stoic training right there. No complaint, no story, just correction. Each day, raise the tempo a tiny amount, not a big jump, a small, almost insulting increase. Think of it like adding 1 extra kilogram on a lift. You want progress that is sustainable, not progress that burns you out. If you have a metronome, use it. If not, use a simple metronome app. But do not let the tool become the focus. The focus is the quality of your attention. Now the 6-month challenge. Once a week, record yourself for 1 minute. Not your best take, just a real take. Do not overproduce it. Do not edit. 1 minute of truth. Save those recordings in a folder. At first, you may cringe. That is normal. Then something surprising happens. After a month, you will hear steadiness. After 3 months, you will hear confidence. After 6 months, you will hear a person who can stay calm inside a pulse. And that skill transfers. Meetings, conversations, stress. Your mind learns a new default. Return to the beat, return to the breath, return to the next right note. Hobby 3. 1-day meal prep for the entire week. Meal prep is attractive because it hits the real problems people complain about: energy, money, health, and that quiet question in the background: do I actually run my life, or do I just react to it? Most hobbies improve one part of you. Meal prep quietly upgrades your whole week. When you cook once and set yourself up, you wake up with fewer decisions, fewer excuses, and fewer moments where hunger turns into chaos. You stop playing defense against your own schedule. You walk into a long day already protected because your food is ready. That feels like control, not in an arrogant way, but in a grounded way. Your body gets consistent fuel. Your wallet stops bleeding from impulse orders. Your mood becomes steadier because you are not swinging between caffeine, sugar, and regret. And the best part is that the results are visible. You do not need motivation to believe in it. You open the fridge and the proof is sitting there. From a Stoic perspective, this hobby trains temperance and preparation. It is the practice of doing the right thing even when you are not in the mood. That matters because most people do not fail from lack of information. They fail from emotional decision-making. They wait until they feel inspired, and then life happens. Meal prep flips that pattern. You make one calm decision in advance, then you obey that decision all week. It is not glamorous, but it builds self-trust. And self-trust is a kind of inner strength. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, not someone who negotiates with cravings every night. Here is how to start without making it complicated. You need a simple structure. Pick 2 main dishes, 1 vegetable side, and 1 small add-on that makes the meals feel complete. 2 mains could be chicken and rice bowls and a ground turkey chili, or tofu, stir-fry and salmon with potatoes, whatever fits your diet. 1 vegetable side could be roasted broccoli, sautéed green beans, or a big salad base. 1 add-on could be a simple sauce, a yogurt dip, a vinaigrette, or a batch of fruit and nuts for snacks. The goal is variety without chaos. Before you cook, shop with a list. Not a maybe list, a real list. If you do not list it, you do not buy it. That one rule saves money immediately. Buy ingredients that repeat across meals, like onions, garlic, lemon, rice, and 1 or 2 proteins. Repetition is not boring here. It is efficient. Then set a 90-minute window and treat it like an appointment. Put on a timer. You are not cooking all day. You are executing a plan. In the first week, your mission is speed and simplicity. Start by turning on the oven and putting the rice or potatoes on first, because those take time. While that cooks, prep your vegetables. Chop once, cook twice. Then cook your proteins. Keep seasoning basic. Salt, pepper, 1 spice blend, 1 acid like lemon or vinegar. Finish with a simple sauce that can change the flavor, so the same base meal does not feel repetitive. Pack everything in containers while it is still warm enough to handle. Label them if you need to, and you are done. The first time might feel clumsy. That is normal. You are building a system, not chasing perfection. Now the 6-month challenge is where this becomes a real personal upgrade. Each month, add 1 new technique. Month 1, roast properly. Learn temperature, timing, and how to get crisp edges. Month 2, learn a clean pan sear so your protein has flavor without needing heavy sauces. Month 3, learn 1 basic sauce you can reuse, like a simple tomato sauce, a yogurt garlic sauce, or a peanut sauce. Month 4, learn how to balance a bowl: protein, fiber, color, and crunch. Month 5, optimize cost. Buy in bulk. Use frozen vegetables smartly, and plan meals that reuse ingredients. Month 6, refine your default week. The exact set of meals you can repeat when life gets messy. By the end, the outcome is concrete. You will feel it in your body, you will see it in your calendar, and you will notice it in your spending. More than that, you will have trained a quiet kind of power, the ability to prepare today so tomorrow does not control you. Hobby 4. Street photography on your phone. 1 theme only. Street photography is attractive because it changes how you move through your day. You stop walking like a person being dragged by tasks, and you start walking like a person who is watching. And the moment you become a watcher, you get pulled less by your emotions. Most people live inside their head. They replay conversations, worry about the future, judge themselves, scroll for relief, then repeat. Street photography breaks that loop, not by forcing you to think positive, but by giving your attention a job. You are not hunting likes, you are training perception. You are learning to notice light, gestures, patterns, and small human moments that were always there, but you were too distracted to see. That is why it hooks people. It turns an ordinary commute into a quiet mission. From a Stoic angle, this hobby is practice in presence. It teaches you to see reality clearly without adding unnecessary judgment. You learn to look at what is actually happening, not the story you are telling about what is happening. That alone can calm your inner noise. When you photograph shadows instead of reacting to a bad mood, you are shifting from emotion to observation. When you photograph a stranger's hands, you are learning to read life without needing to control it. It sounds simple, but it is a real mental skill. The steadier your attention becomes, the less your feelings get to hijack your day. Here is how to begin in a way that stays practical. The rule is 1 theme only, not 10 themes. 1. Pick a theme that feels oddly specific, because specificity forces creativity. Choose shadows on sidewalks, windows and reflections, hands, faces in profile, or street signs. Commit to it for at least 30 days before you change. This constraint is the secret. When you limit the subject, you sharpen the eye. Your brain starts scanning for that pattern automatically, like a radar. Every day, take 10 shots. 10 is important because it removes pressure. One perfect shot feels heavy. 10 simple shots feels like practice. You are allowed to miss. You are allowed to take bad photos. This is not a performance. It is training reps. Do it on your normal route. Do not wait for a special trip. Use your real life as the studio, and keep the rules simple. Clean the camera lens. Turn on the grid lines if you have them. Tap to focus. Hold your breath for half a second when you press the shutter. These tiny habits make your images clearer immediately. At the end of the day, choose exactly one photo. Not 3, not 5, 1. This is where the growth happens. When you choose one, you are training taste and decisiveness. Ask yourself one honest question. What made me stop and take this photo? Was it the light, the geometry, the expression, the contrast, the mood? Then edit very lightly. Do not drown it in filters. Adjust exposure slightly. Straighten lines. Maybe add a touch of contrast. And stop. The point is to improve your eye, not to hide weak seeing under effects. If you want a simple editing rule, keep skin tones natural, keep shadows honest, keep it close to what you saw. Now the 6-month challenge. Each month, you will build a set of 12 photos. 12 is manageable, and it forces you to raise the bar. Pick your best 12 from the month and arrange them like a story, not a random dump. A beginning, a middle, an end. Maybe your theme is reflections. So the story moves from bright morning windows to crowded noon streets to rainy night glass. Then post them as a single sequence, a thread, a carousel, or even a private album if you do not want to share publicly. The point is the structure, not the applause. If you do this for 6 months, 2 things happen. First, your focus improves because you practice returning to the present every day. Second, your aesthetic taste gets sharper because you are forced to choose and refine. You will start noticing composition without trying. You will start seeing moments before they happen. And most importantly, you will become harder to shake because your mind has learned a new reflex. When stress rises, you can step back, observe, and respond instead of spiraling. That is what a real hobby can do. Hobby 5. Woodworking, simple builds, models, or fixing things at home. This hobby pulls people in for a reason that has nothing to do with aesthetics. When your hands are busy, your mind gets quieter. The noise in your head has less room to spin because your attention is anchored to something real. A measurement, a cut line, a screw that needs the right pressure, a surface that needs patience. And when you finish something, even something small, you get a kind of proof that most modern life does not give you. You can point to it and say, I made that. I repaired that. I turned confusion into something solid. That matters if you are tired of talking about change and want evidence you are becoming more capable. It is also attractive because it restores a sense of agency. So much of daily life is invisible work, emails, meetings, planning, and scrolling. At the end of the day, you feel drained, but you cannot hold anything in your hands that shows what you did. Building or fixing something reverses that. It rewards effort with a physical result, and that is deeply grounding. From a Stoic angle, this hobby trains patience, attention to detail, and calm correction. Seneca had this quiet idea that the real training happens in small things, done consistently, without needing applause. That is exactly what craft teaches. You cannot rush a clean cut. You cannot force a piece to fit by willpower. If you do, the mistake shows up immediately. So you learn to slow down, adjust, and keep your emotions out of the work. A misaligned screw is not a personal insult. It is just information. You back it out and do it again. That attitude transfers into life. You become the kind of person who fixes problems instead of dramatizing them. Here is how to start without turning it into a complicated new identity. Choose a tiny project. Tiny is important because finishing builds confidence. A mini shelf, a wall hook rack, a small storage box, a phone stand, or even assembling a model kit that requires careful alignment. If you are not ready for cutting wood, start with repairs. Tighten a loose chair. Replace a cabinet hinge. Fix a drawer that sticks. These are wins that cost little and teach you how things work. For the first week, focus on 3 basic skills. First, measuring. Learn to measure twice and mark once. Use a pencil and a simple ruler or tape measure. Make your marks clear. Second, cutting or shaping. If you are cutting wood, start with simple straight cuts and do not chase speed. If you are doing models, learn to trim cleanly and sand edges lightly. Third, fastening and finishing. Practice drilling a pilot hole so screws go in clean and do not split the material. Practice sanding in stages so surfaces feel smooth, not rushed. These basics sound boring until you realize they are the difference between frustration and flow. When you make mistakes, and you will, train the Stoic response. Pause. Breathe. Name the mistake without exaggeration. Then choose the correction. Can you sand it down? Can you recut the piece? Can you realign the hole? If the answer is no, you still learn. You do not need perfection to build competence. You need repetition with honesty. Now, the 6-month challenge. Each month, build or repair one item that you will actually use in your home. Not a decoration, a tool for your life. A shelf for your books, a small entryway tray, a bathroom organizer, a laptop stand, a simple bedside table, a repaired stool. Keep a photo log from start to finish. Seeing the steps will teach you how far you have come. And add one more rule that changes your motivation. Each month, give one finished item to someone else. Not because you need praise, but because it raises your standard. When you know another person will use it, you become more careful. You measure more accurately. You sand a little longer. You check the screws. You take responsibility. Over 6 months, you will not just collect objects. You will build a calmer mind and a more reliable character, the kind that proves itself quietly, one small piece at a time. Hobby 6. Partner dancing, salsa or bachata. Partner dance is attractive because it forces growth in places most people avoid. It is social, so you cannot hide. It is physical, so you cannot stay in your head. And it pushes right on your shyness, because you have to stand in front of another person and move with them in real time. The first time you try salsa or bachata, your brain will likely overthink everything. What do I do with my hands? Am I stepping wrong? Do I look awkward? That is exactly why it works. It exposes the part of you that wants to be perfect before you participate. And then it gives you a healthier rule: participate first, refine later. It also demands body control in a very practical way. You are not just exercising, you are learning timing, balance, and coordination while staying relaxed enough to connect with someone else. That combination is rare. Most people either focus on performance and get stiff, or focus on fun and stay sloppy. Partner dance teaches you to be both calm and precise. From a Stoic lens, this hobby trains humility, cooperation, and leadership without domination. If you lead, you learn to guide without forcing. Your job is to make your partner feel safe and clear, not controlled. If you follow, you learn trust and responsiveness without losing your own balance. Either role teaches you that you are not the center of the universe. You are part of a shared rhythm. When you make a mistake, which happens constantly at first, you practice the Stoic skill of not adding extra shame. You do not turn a wrong step into a story about your worth. You simply reset and continue. That is emotional discipline in motion. Here is how to start. Keep the first week simple and mechanical. Learn the basic step and the count. For salsa, you are learning to step on a clear pattern, usually counted in 8, with movement that feels forward and back, or side to side, depending on the style. For bachata, you are learning a smoother 4 count, with a tap that keeps you grounded. Do not chase fancy turns. Your first goal is to keep the beat without looking at your feet. Use music with a clear tempo, slow it down if you have to, and practice in front of a mirror for 5 minutes a day. Next, learn how to connect. This is where most beginners get tense. You want a light frame, not a death grip. Your hands are not clamps, they are signals. Your posture should feel tall but relaxed, like you are balanced over your feet rather than leaning into your partner. Then you add eye contact and spacing. You do not stare, you simply stay present. Your partner is not a judge, they are a teammate. The clearer you are, the calmer both of you become. Once you have the basic step, practice one small pattern repeatedly. 1. Maybe a simple right turn, maybe a basic side step change. Repeat until it feels smooth. And remember the real rule. The goal is not to impress. The goal is to communicate. If your partner looks confused, that is feedback, not failure. Slow down. Make the lead smaller. Return to the basic step. That ability to simplify under pressure is the exact mental habit you want in life too. Now the 6-month challenge. Each month, attend one social dance night, not to prove talent, but to practice calm exposure. You walk in, you breathe, you ask one person to dance, and you stay steady even if you mess up. You do not hide in the corner waiting to feel ready. You train the skill of being slightly uncomfortable without collapsing. If you do this for 6 months, you will notice a shift. You become less awkward in conversations because you have practiced connection without overthinking. You become more confident because you have survived the fear of being seen. And you become more emotionally controlled because you have trained yourself to recover from mistakes in real time, with a smile, and without self-punishment. Hobby 7. Hiking with purpose and basic navigation. Hiking is attractive for the opposite reason. It removes the noise instead of adding social pressure. Nature forces you to slow down. The trail does not care about your notifications. Your phone signal might even disappear, and that is not a problem. It is the point. When you hike, your world shrinks to simple truths. The next step, the next breath, the next slope, and those slopes teach you something modern comfort tries to hide. You can be uncomfortable and still be okay. You can be tired and still keep moving. You can want to stop and still choose to continue. From a Stoic lens, hiking trains endurance, acceptance, and step-by-step thinking. It teaches you to meet difficulty without complaining, not in a tough guy way, but in a clean way. You stop wasting energy on resistance. You learn to work with reality. The hill is there. The weather is what it is. Your legs feel heavy. You can either fight that with drama, or you can simply adjust your pace and keep going. That is Stoic practice in the wild. Here is how to start. Begin in a park or an easy local trail. Your first month is not about distance, it is about habit and safety. Wear shoes that grip. Bring a light backpack, water, a snack, and something for weather changes. Then add one skill that makes hiking feel empowering. Basic navigation. Learn to read a simple trail map on your phone. Use a reputable hiking app or offline map feature. Before you go, look at the route, note where the turns are, and save the map offline. The point is not to become a survival expert. The point is to stop relying on luck. When you hike, set a steady pace that you can hold while breathing through your nose most of the time. That keeps your nervous system calmer. If you hit a steep section, Shorten your steps. Do not sprint, then crash. Move like you are conserving resources. On the trail, practice attention. Look at the ground ahead, the spacing of rocks, the roots, the changing light. When your mind starts replaying problems, bring it back to the physical world. Foot placement, breathing, posture. That is how hiking cleans the mind. It gives your attention a home. Now the 6-month challenge. Each month, choose a slightly longer route than the last. Track 3 things: time, heart rate if you have it, and how you felt mentally before and after. The data is simple, but it becomes powerful. You will see that your body adapts. More importantly, you will see that your mind adapts. What used to feel like a long hike becomes normal. What used to feel like a hard climb becomes just a section. And here is the quiet payoff. Over 6 months, you build a relationship with discomfort that most people never develop. You stop panicking when things are not convenient. You stop needing perfect conditions to show up. You become cleaner inside because you have practiced carrying yourself through effort without complaining. The trail teaches you the same lesson every time. You do not need to control everything to move forward. You just need to take the next step well. Hobby 8. Daily 60-second storytelling, improvised speaking. This hobby is attractive because it builds presence without forcing you to be loud. It is not about becoming an influencer personality. It is about becoming someone who can think clearly and speak cleanly under pressure. Most people have ideas, but when they have to say them out loud, their mind rushes, their voice tightens, and they either over-explain or go blank. Daily storytelling fixes that the same way training fixes a weak muscle. Small reps, done consistently, until calm becomes normal. If you create content, it is even more valuable. Because content is not just editing and visuals. It is clarity. It is making another person feel, I get what you mean. From a Stoic angle, this hobby trains self-control and courage in a social form. You practice staying steady while being heard. You learn to lead your words instead of letting emotions drag them around. You also learn honesty, because a 60-second story has no room for pretending. You either have a point or you do not. And when you repeat this daily, you start discovering what you actually believe, not what sounds smart. That is a quiet form of integrity. Here is how to start in a way that is simple and sustainable. Each day, pick one small, real experience, not your life story. Something tiny. A moment in a cafe, a mistake at work, a conversation that annoyed you, a walk where you noticed something. Then tell it in exactly 60 seconds using a basic structure. Context, conflict, lesson. Context is one sentence, where you were and what was happening. Conflict is the tension, what went wrong, what surprised you, what you struggled with. Lesson is the point, what you learned, what you decided, what you would do differently next time. Set a timer for 60 seconds. Press record on your phone. Speak standing up if you can, because posture changes your voice. Do not script it. Do not restart when you stumble. Keep going. The goal is not a clean take. The goal is calm recovery. That recovery is what you are training. When you finish, listen once, not 10 times, once. Then fix one thing only. One. Maybe you talk too fast. Maybe you used filler words like or like. Maybe your lesson was vague. Maybe your opening was confusing. Choose one improvement and carry it into tomorrow. That is how you grow without burning out. To make it easier, create a small list of prompts you can reuse when you feel blank. What annoyed me today and why? What surprised me today? What did I avoid today and what happened? What did I learn from a small failure? What did I notice about myself in a stressful moment? These prompts keep the habit alive. Now the 6-month challenge. Each month, create one 2-minute video story. 2 minutes forces more structure. It makes you set up the situation clearly, build tension without rambling, and land a real takeaway. But keep the same rule: clarity over perfection. No fancy edits required. A simple video, decent audio, and a clear point. Save all 6 videos in one folder. Watching them in order will be shocking. You will hear a person becoming calmer, sharper, and more confident, not because they became louder, but because they became clearer. And the payoff is bigger than content. You will speak better in meetings. You will handle conflict better. You will stop freezing when someone puts you on the spot. You will become the kind of person who can hold attention with steadiness, not performance. Hobby 9. Volunteering in a disciplined environment. Volunteering is attractive because it pulls you out of your own head. When your life becomes too self-focused, even self-improvement can turn into a loop of anxiety. You track your habits, your goals, your body, your productivity, and somehow you still feel empty. Volunteering breaks that pattern by placing you in a real situation where you are needed, not admired. Needed. There is work to do, people to help, tasks that matter, and the reward is not likes. The reward is usefulness. That feeling is deeply stabilizing. It also gives you a clean sense of purpose. In a disciplined volunteer setting, disaster relief support, community cleanups, food kitchens, donation sorting, logistics for local shelters, you learn how to show up on time, follow systems, and serve without drama. This is not romantic. It is practical. And that practicality is exactly what builds inner strength. From a Stoic angle, this hobby trains justice and compassion through action. Stoicism is often misunderstood as cold, but the real tradition is about being a good citizen of the world. You practice fairness, responsibility, and care, not as concepts, but as behavior. You learn to help without needing to be seen. You learn to do what is right because it is right. That is a powerful identity shift, especially for young people who feel lost. Here is how to start. Pick one local group with a strong reputation. Do not jump into random chaos. Choose an organization with clear schedules and defined roles. Commit to a fixed time each week, even if it is just 2 hours. Consistency matters more than intensity. Then begin with small tasks. Wash dishes, sort items, pack boxes, carry supplies, clean up after an event. These tasks are not beneath you. They are training. They teach you humility and reliability. People trust the person who handles the unglamorous work without complaining. As you become consistent, you can take on more responsibility. Learn how the system works, who coordinates, what the workflow is, where bottlenecks happen. Ask simple questions and listen. Volunteering teaches social intelligence in a clean way, because you are not there to win. You are there to contribute. That makes you more observant and less defensive. Now the 6-month challenge. Each month, step into a clearer role. Month 1, show up reliably and learn the basics. Month 2, take ownership of one small area, like organizing a station or managing a supply list. Month 3, support new volunteers, show them how things work. Month 4, help coordinate a shift, timekeeping, task assignment, problem solving. Month 5, handle a more complex responsibility, inventory, transportation, or communication. Month 6, help run a full session with supervision. If you do this for 6 months, you will grow fast because the environment is real. You will build confidence that does not depend on mood. You will learn discipline without needing a motivation hack. And you will feel a steadier kind of pride, not the fragile pride of looking good, but the stable pride of being useful when it matters. Hobby 10. Modern survival skills, basic first aid. This hobby is attractive because it gives you a rare kind of confidence. Not the confidence of looking impressive, but the confidence of being useful when something goes wrong. Most people feel safe because life is usually normal. Then the moment a real emergency happens, a bad fall, a deep cut, someone choking, someone fainting, the brain panics. You realize how fragile normal is. Learning basic first aid changes that relationship with uncertainty. It gives you a sense of self-reliance that is practical and immediate. You are not training for a fantasy. You are training for something that could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. It also makes you calmer in general. When you know what to do, your mind has fewer reasons to spiral. You stop feeding anxiety with imagination because you have a protocol. You know what matters first. You know what is urgent and what can wait. That is a powerful life skill, especially for young people who feel overwhelmed by smaller problems. First aid teaches you to zoom out, assess, prioritize, then act. From a Stoic lens, this hobby is training composure under pressure and clean decision-making. When stress hits, you do not get to be dramatic. You do not get to freeze. You learn to keep your attention on what is controllable in that moment. Your hands, your voice. The next step. You learn to act without wasting energy on panic. You also learn responsibility, because knowledge without action is useless in emergencies. The value is in readiness, and readiness is built through repetition. Here is how to start. Step 1. Take a proper foundational first aid course from a reputable provider in your area. This matters because you want correct technique, not internet guesses. A good course will teach you assessment, basic wound care, bleeding control, how to respond to choking, how to handle fainting, and what to do until professional help arrives. It also teaches you what not to do, which is just as important. After you take the course, you turn it into a weekly practice, one skill per week. Keep it simple and structured. Week 1. Wound care. Learn how to clean a wound safely, when to cover it, and how to recognize signs that need medical attention. Week 2. Bandaging. Practice wrapping a bandage with the right tension, secure but not cutting circulation. Week 3. Bleeding control. Practice direct pressure and how to use gauze properly. Week 4. Fainting response. Learn how to check responsiveness, position the person safely, and monitor breathing. Week 5. Choking response. Practice the sequence in your head until you can recall it calmly. Week 6. Scenario drills. Walk through a simple situation. You arrive, you assess, you call for help, you act. The key is repetition without ego. You are not trying to feel like a hero. You are trying to be reliable. Practice with a timer and simple prompts so your brain learns the order. In emergencies, people do not rise to the occasion. They fall to the level of their training. That is why this hobby works. Now the 6-month challenge. Build a small, practical first aid kit for your home and your car. Nothing extreme, just essentials. Basic bandages in different sizes, sterile gauze, medical tape, antiseptic wipes, a pair of gloves, small scissors, and anything recommended by your course instructor. Keep it organized and replace items when you use them. Then, once a month, do a kit check like a ritual. Is everything there? Is anything expired? Can you find what you need in 10 seconds? And here is the final step that locks the learning into your body. Teach a family member or close friend one skill in 15 minutes. Not a lecture, a simple demonstration and a quick practice. Teaching forces clarity. It exposes gaps. It turns passive knowledge into active competence. After 6 months, you will not just know first aid, you will trust yourself more, because in a real moment, you will not be guessing. You will be moving. You do not need 10 hobbies. You need one hobby that is right for you, the one that becomes your training ground for willpower. Pick one option from this list and treat it like a quiet contract. Put it on your calendar. Keep it small, but keep it consistent. Do not measure it by motivation. Measure it by evidence. A higher bouldering grade, cleaner rhythm, and steadier tempo. A fridge full of meals you prepared. A monthly photo set that shows your eye is sharper. A repaired shelf that you actually use. A social dance you showed up for even while nervous. A longer hike completed with less complaining. A clearer voice in your stories. Real service through volunteering. Actual readiness through first aid. And notice what changes after 6 months. The world may not become softer. People may not become easier. Your problems may not magically disappear. But your reflex will change. Under pressure, you will not collapse into panic or avoidance as quickly. You will return to a pattern you trained. Breathe, assess, and act. That is the Stoic outcome, not control over life, but control over yourself inside life. So here is the only question that matters at the end. Which one hobby will you train for the next 6 months? And do you want me to map it into a simple 30-day plan that is easy to follow without overthinking?